to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And make that back-to-back wins now for your Philadelphia Union as they defeat Nashville SC by a score of 3-0 thanks to a Daniel Gazdag hat trick. Now, we get into everybody's favorite competition, Leagues Cup. But I don't think it's a bad thing because the Union, 2 games in a row now that they've won. You go into Leagues Cup with momentum. You have Charlotte this upcoming Saturday. Then following your next game against Cruz Azul on Sunday, you win that game against Charlotte, you're pretty much guaranteed to move on. But I get it. It's not everybody's favorite competition. A lot of people said they're not going to be going to these games. I get it. But I will say, anytime the Union win, Subaru Park is the place to be. You saw it last night at Union Yards after the game, before the game, which, by the way, shout out to Dave Leno and Sage Hurley for Chalk Talk. If you guys haven't checked that out, they do a fantastic job just getting you guys ready for the upcoming game against whoever the opponent may be on the night, getting you caught up with what happened in previous games. They'll talk about stats and just make sure you guys are up to date with everything you need to know with that night's opponent. Really, really good stuff coming from Dave and Sage, and highly recommend checking out Chalk Talk because they do a good job getting the fans involved, and they do, both of them do excellent work with the Union. You have Dave obviously doing the radio play-by-play for the Union, and Sage, I feel like she does everything for the club, whether it be on-field interviews, podcasts, writing for the club. I mean, they have her doing it all. And so both of them do fantastic work. Check out Chalk Talk if you guys haven't. But like I said, Union Yards, definitely the place to be. And I get it. You guys don't like Leagues Cup. But if the Union go on these runs and continue to win, well, then people want to check out Subaru Park. And I get it. The crowds haven't been sold out. They haven't been as loud as they've been in the past. Though last night, I thought the atmosphere was really, really good. Fantastic from Keystone State Ultras, getting the sections below the press box involved with their chants. And it was a loud atmosphere last night. I can't speak on what the atmosphere was like on Wednesday against New England, but I do know last night was fantastic. A lot of happy people headed over to Union Yards, and now suddenly that place isn't cursed. And yeah, it's amazing watching what happens once the Union win. You know, the happy faces from fans, from the players, from the coaching staff, everybody involved with the club. Everybody's in high spirits. And so last night's game, terrific. Also, meeting Pete and his crew last night. I know he's a listener for said over a year. So, I mean, it's nice. It's nice meeting you guys for the first time, putting a face to the profile picture, whether it be on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you guys communicate with me through. It's nice meeting you guys. And so I enjoy meeting people for the first time and people stopping me and saying, "Hey, Todd." And yeah, maybe I might not know exactly who you are in the moment. Not saying that happened with Pete. But yeah, eventually it's like, oh yeah, I do remember having this conversation with this person or that person. And just meeting you guys in person and you guys showing your support, I appreciate that greatly. And just like last night, you guys checked out Jose Nunez and I live on AAT Sports doing our post-game show. Thank you to Jose for allowing me to take maybe a little bit longer of a time than you guys are used to with me going to get quotes from players in the locker room, attending Jim Curtin's press conference, and got to give a shout out to the Union's PR staff for allowing us to, stay after we're done with the players and whatnot and recording a live show from the stadium. And so I think there's going to be great content, even more great content coming from Jose and I. Jose was at home, so he wasn't able to be with me in the stadium, but we kind of did a little bit of a test run. And Jose, towards the end of that, was like, go see if you can still have internet connection outside of the press box overlooking the stadium. It worked. And that would be a fantastic backdrop for Jose and I next time we're live at Subaru Park together to record with Subaru Park, the big Union lettering in the background. That would be fantastic. So thank you again to the Union PR staff for allowing us to do that. thank you guys, the listeners, for just checking that out all the time. I know last episode people were asking Jose, "Are you guys doing a live? Where are you guys at?" We did not do a live because yeah, I wasn't at the stadium and I went to bed right after the game just because I was so tired from work. But you guys would know that if you listened to the last episode. But again, Jose and I have a lot of great stuff coming, and maybe we can, if we can somehow get the internet at Union Yards, maybe we can do it with all you guys around and take questions or whatnot. I don't know. Uh, just speaking it out loud. I mean, right now we know that we can record inside the stadium after we're done everything, and that's a lot better than being in an empty parking lot where I'm using a hotspot. So once again, thank you to the Union PR staff. Thank you to Jose for inviting me last night, and AAT Sports for allowing us to use the StreamYard and go live and just engage with you guys, the listeners. And like I said, I know a lot of you guys appreciate us doing it, and we want to continue to make it better for you guys, the listeners. But as you guys know, we have some news, of course. We have the game to talk about last night, 3 stars, and Blunder of the Week. So without that, let's get straight into the news. All right, so first bit of news we will get to, and of course, everything I feel like I bring up news-wise is always reported by Tom Bogert. He is the guy who's breaking all the MLS news, the guy who's on top of it all, whether it be Union, whether it be Portland Timbers, Montreal, it doesn't matter the club. He is your guy for MLS news. Did not tell me to do that, but every time I give you guys news updates, that's where I'm getting it from Tom Bogert. So, Portland Timbers, they have acquired Mason Toye in a trade with CF Montreal. He joined Montreal in 2020, and playing time has really been hard to come by for Mason as he struggled with injuries, new coaches, and just really finding himself down the pecking order in Montreal. He had 13 goals in his time with Montreal in about 3,000 minutes. So not a ton of playing time with a player that's been there since 2020. Not a ton of production either, but he gets a new start with Portland, with Phil Neville. Won't be asked to be the guy. He'll be a bench piece. It gives Portland another option off the bench. And, I think there's a player that was decent with Minnesota United from 2018 to 2020. Had 7 goals in his time there in 42 appearances. Came through the New York Red Bull system, played at Indiana University for a year. And, he's been around, I feel like, for so long in MLS. And now he's on his 3rd club now since 2018. And we'll see exactly what Phil Neville can get out of Mason Toye. But he is on the move. I expect to see a lot more trades within MLS. And as we know, the Union did make a trade with St. Louis to bring in Sam Adeniran. We talked about that last episode, and we'll obviously talk about Sam's performance. He made his debut for the Union on the night against Nashville, and so we'll get to that here in a bit. But point number 2 I want to bring up is Brighton. They're nearing a deal for Inter Miami's Diego Gomez. Inter Miami last season paid $3 million for Gomez. He's a U22 initiative player. He's set to be sold for $15 million, with add-ons taking that deal up to $18 million. And so you pay $3 million for this player last year, and now you're about to make 5 times what you paid. That is fantastic business by Inter Miami. And I do realize $3 million, that would be a new record paid if the Union were to pay or buy a player like that, like Gomez costs Inter Miami. But look, within a year, his value went up by 5 times from what Inter Miami paid. That is insane business. And then with add-ons up to $18 million. That is fantastic. 28 appearances, 5 goals, 4 assists, and 1,976 minutes played. Just joined last season, 21 years old. And so he'll be with Inter Miami through the rest of the season. He'll join Brighton in the wintertime. But, and this is going to take me into the last news point that I'll bring up. This is the exact type of players the Union should be going after. Taking advantage of the U22 initiative, where, yeah, those are essentially DP signings, the young DP signings. And Inter Miami just absolutely crushed it with this deal. A year. Like, that's what's so mind blowing for me. You pay $3 million in a year, your value raises up to $15 million from 3 to 15. Insane. And for a club that loves to make profit like the Union do, it feels like it's a gimme to invest in more U22 players. As things stand, the Union only have one in Alawetu Makanya, who's yet to appear with the club. I do think that wasn't the best usage out of that U22 spot, but we'll see what the Union do because MLS have announced official roster rule changes. And so the big change is teams can have 3 designated players plus 3 U22 initiative slots, or teams could just go with 2 DPs plus 4 U22 slots plus $2 million in game. And so for people who aren't paying too much attention with the Union's roster as it stands, you have Mikhail Ua and Daniel Gazdag as your only DP signings. You have Alawetu Makanya as your only U22 player. And I don't know what the Union are going to do, how they're going to approach this, but you would imagine if they don't go out and sign another DP player, MLS teams have by August 14th to decide, okay, which one of these paths they're going with. Going to roll with 2 DPs, which will then give them the 4 U22 slots plus $2 million in game, or will teams go with 3 DPs and 3 U22 players? I'd imagine, like I said, that the Union will go with that option. I mean, you're getting $2 million in game. That's just free money. Why wouldn't you do that if you're the Union? And yes, fans are asking for more signings. Fans have every right to want more signings when you're watching just teams around MLS continuing to make deals happen. But with a little bit of a change in different people they brought in to the front office, to the technical staff, yeah, you can see that maybe the Union change up, their ways of thinking a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised, right, if we see a couple more signings from the Union. I know the Sons of Ben released a statement from their meeting with ownership on Tuesday, I believe it was, last Tuesday. And in their statement, in the meeting with ownership had told them that 2 more players are going to be on their way to the Union. They're working on a second deal. They're going to try for a third. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But why not take initiative and take part in the U22 initiative? I did not mean to say that word twice, but it is what it is. You have 2 DPs. It's no need to go in and sign a third DP. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could technically buy Daniel Gazdag down and have 1 DP in Mikhail Ua. I don't know what the TAM situation is looking like for the Union at the moment because, yeah, of course, MLS isn't that transparent. Can't get them to be as transparent as we would all like with letting us know how much GAM and TAM teams have. We just basically got to take the team's word for it when they say, yeah, we have no more GAM left, or this is why we made a GAM signing, because some teams like Inter Miami seem to have an influx of that money available to them. But yeah, this is what I would do. I mean, if I'm the Union, I'm going out there, I'm going to South America, I'm signing young players, giving these guys a chance. And Inter Miami, crush it with this Diego Gomez deal with Brighton. And I think more teams are going to look at that and say, look what Inter Miami just did. A player that was only in the league for a year. Why can't we put more resources in South America, spend the money that Inter Miami were paying? And of course, I realize that these deals aren't always going to work out this way, but I feel like the risk is worth taking. Absolutely worth taking. If you believe in your scouting, if you believe in your team to find the right players for your system, then why not take that risk? because it might turn into making 5 times the profit. And I hope the Union wind up taking advantage of these new roster rules. But let's go ahead and talk about the Philadelphia Union versus Nashville SC match. And honestly, guys, like my plan for this episode was like, there's no reason why this should be a 50-minute episode. We're already 60 minutes in. So we'll see what happens. Definitely want to try to keep this within 50 minutes. Probably not going to happen with me, as you guys always know. But like we said in the intro, if you guys didn't watch the game, if you guys were living under the rock, maybe you guys didn't pay attention to the intro. The Union beat Nashville by a score of 3-0. And I don't know about you guys, but there's a moment there in the first half where I was a little bit nervous because it looked like for a little bit the Union were probably going to go into the half only up by 1 goal. And how many times this season have we seen the Union just have missed chances, not capitalizing on scoring multiple goals in the first half, going up by multiple goals? And it's always come back to haunt them in the second half. But to the Union's credit, they get 2 goals. They go into the break up 2-0. And the funny thing is, that's only the second time this season that the Union have went up by multiple goals. And that happened last game against New England in the 3-0 thrashing in the first half. And so, yeah, I mean, good stuff for the Union in the first half. Daniel Gazdag, fantastic. You look at the 2 passes by Leon Flock and Mikael Uhre, especially Leon Flock, a player that does not get credit for his offensive capabilities. People say, that's his worst part of his game, that he's not an offensive player. But I've noticed this season, like his offensive game's taken such a huge step. He's looking to play forward. He's advancing higher up the field. And I should have asked Leon that last night. Definitely should have asked him it, but I did not, because it seems like Leon's defensive work rate's been fine. It's what you come to expect, but I've noticed the last couple games, Leon seems to be getting more and more higher up the field, involved in the attack. And I don't know if that's a tactical thing that the opposition is trying to do, is get Leon Flock on the ball, trying to get one of their lesser creators on the ball. But he's actually creating decent chances the last couple of games. Picks out a huge assist to Daniel Gazdag here, and it's a really, really, really good play by Leon Flock. And of course, Daniel Gazdag is going to get the credit, as he should, for keeping himself on side, for just having the awareness of, okay, where the offsides is going to be at, and just finding that little bit of space. I mean, it's a really composed finish by Daniel Gazdag. Just like the Mikael Uhre one, where Mikael assists Daniel Gazdag. Again, it's just good awareness, good IQ by Daniel. It's good vision by Mikael Uhre, a player who, takes so much flack from the fan base for not scoring enough goals. And I'm sure people will say, well, it's a lucky assist. No, it's a really good assist. And people always make the argument, well, strikers need to be scoring goals, but his work rate's fantastic, getting in behind the defense. And watching him now, back-to-back games, picking up an assist. Picked up an assist last game to Todd, picked up now one to Daniel Gazdag. And yes, we all want to see Mikael score, but if his game can be getting assists, tiring out the back line, and I realize that you pay $2.8 million to bring in Mikael Uhre. It's a lot of money to bring in a guy who is just going to run at the back line and get more assists and goals. I realize like fans would be upset with that. But at the same time, like if the Union are winning games, then is it the worst thing in the world? I don't think so. But you guys might disagree. That's 10 times now this season in 25 games that the Union have had the lead at halftime. They have a 5-4-1 record. And besides the 2 goals by Daniel Gazdag in the first half, there was a couple half chances by the Union, but I didn't think any of those chances were really anything to write home about. Yes, they were chances created, but they really weren't threatening the Nashville back line, really weren't threatening Joe Willis. But the 2 goals that Daniel Gazdag scored, I mean, it's just tight space. And again, it's a composing finish by Daniel. And you can't teach that. You can't teach soccer awareness. You can't teach soccer IQ, knowing, okay, this is the space where I need to attack. And you saw the Union, which is a little bit weird, attacking through the middle of the field basically the whole game. They don't typically do that, but they do it in this game against Nashville, and it worked. And I don't know, is this something that the Union are gonna go ahead and try to do more of? I wouldn't be against it, honestly. I mean, it worked against Nashville, and I do realize I said it in the intro. These are two games that the Union should have won. They did win. Both New England and Nashville aren't great teams, but the Union attacked a little bit differently than what they normally do. And so maybe this is something they can focus on in Leagues Cup. Maybe give them another wrinkle against teams to try to figure them out, try to break them down, because you always want to involve your style. You always want to try different things because eventually teams are going to figure you out. And I don't think we've seen the Union many times this season attacking through the middle like they did last night against Nashville. But I think if we want to stick on the topic of Daniel Gazdag, give some more stats. That's 3 hat tricks now for him in MLS: Colorado, Toronto, now Nashville. He has 6 braces in MLS: Minnesota, Toronto, Colorado, New England, and Nashville. And I asked him after the game, I'm like, dude, that's 6 goals for you now against Nashville. What are you seeing differently against Nashville than maybe you don't see against other opponents? And he was like, wait, I have 6 goals against Nashville. I didn't realize it. I said, yeah, you do. And he's like, yeah, I don't know, still a little bit bitter from 2022 when Hani Mukhtar beat him for the Golden Boot by 1 goal. And so Daniel said it's always fun scoring against Nashville. Takes out some of that anger against Hani Mukhtar and in that team. So look, I know you guys will definitely not complain about that. Daniel Gazdag scoring, you guys are happy. You guys are excited singing your defense is terrified because Gazdag's on fire. And I don't know, did we hear that a lot last night? I can't recall. Maybe a couple times, but beautiful hat trick by Daniel Gazdag. You also look too, it's back-to-back hat tricks for the Union, and a lot of people were asking, oh, this surely has to be the first time that the Union have ever done this. Have teammates ever done this in MLS in general? Well, you guys would find it interesting that the Union have scored back-to-back hat tricks before. In 2022, you had Julian Kranza against DC United, and then you had Daniel Gazdag against the Rapids on August 20th and then August 27th. This is the 6th time in MLS history that teammates have scored back-to-back hat tricks. So it's happened before. The Union have 2 of them. The better question is, has any team had 2 pairs of teammates score back-to-back hat tricks? I'm not sure, but we do know the Union have 2 now, in Kranza and Gazdag, and then Baribo and Gazdag. Daniel Gazdag loves scoring hat tricks. He loves scoring braces. And I think it's pretty interesting too, where fans always call Daniel Gazdag a pen merchant. He has 10 goals this season from open play. He has 4 goals. 4 of those came from the penalty spot. Missed 1 penalty this year. Could have 15 goals, but he's in 3rd place now in the Golden Boot race. Only 3 goals off of Arango. And like I said, 10 goals from open play. He needs 5 more, and he'll be tied for the most goals in open play in his Union career. He scored 15 in 2022. So he's 5 goals away from tying that, which he set in 2022, where the Union were just scoring for fun. And so Daniel's an interesting player, because you guys have heard me say before in the past on the podcast where he's not that traditional number 10. When you look at some of the number 10s in the league, Luciano Acosta, Emmanuel Reynoso, who I know is no longer with Minnesota, those guys are playmakers. And Daniel, I think you can say, is a playmaker, but he's a goal-scoring playmaker, not a creative playmaker. And it's just finding that little space. And you can't teach that. You really cannot teach that. And I do wonder, the Union gets so much service from Kai Wagner, from Jack McGlynn, that it doesn't really matter that Daniel Gazdag is not creating like you would want a number 10 to create, because he's getting in those areas to score. He's finding that space. And like I said, 14 goals on the season. Yes, he leads the Union in goals, third in MLS in most goals scored. Maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's not as big of a need that I've been calling for in past episodes, saying, yeah, if I was the Union, I'd go out and get a backup 10 where, you know, if Jose Martinez can create like he did last night, if Jack McGlynn, if Kai Wagner continue to create like they have all season long, then maybe they don't need a creative 10, a playmaking 10 that's going to get your assist. Maybe they're fine with Daniel Gazdag. And I don't know, it would be interesting to me to see the Union try to play Gazdag as a 10, and then you would play a second number 10 that's going to be a little bit more creative with splitting lines and playing those three balls. But yeah, maybe the Union don't need that. And maybe the diamond works all along, and yeah, maybe everything's fine. But one thing I do want to bring up, one thing that I do have to give props to is Olivier Mbaizo. I thought he was fantastic last night. He did a fantastic job shutting down Schaffelberg. And Jim Curtin gave Olivier praise after the game without any of us mentioning his name.
Olivier went to the level that you guys have heard me say over the years that he should be playing in French League One. He's that talented. Just has to do that every game because he's an elite defender. So
I don't know about the elite defender part. No offense, Jim. But we have seen those type of games in the past from Olivier, where he's great defensively, he's great offensively, but it's about being consistent. And unfortunately for Olivier, he's not been able to find that consistency level that you would want in him. And that's then when Nate Harriel got the opportunity to be the starting right back. And he's done a great job with the opportunity given. And hats off to Nate. And, you know, if Olivier can continue to play at this level, then that's only going to make both players, Nate and Olivier, better, where they're going to continue to push each other. But I've seen enough of Olivier where, yeah, he does enough to get you excited. And then the next couple games, he goes back to giving you 3 out of 10 performances, 4 out of 10 performances. And it's like, great. Nate Harriel can't get back here quick enough. God, the Union need a backup right back. Olivier Mbaizo is not that. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, you know, he can find a way to be consistent and carry this performance over against Charlotte, against Cruz Azul. But it was a great night for him. I mean, a lot of recovery runs, a lot of ball recoveries, a lot of just really, really good 1v1 defending. And I'm not going to say I was wrong, because there has been a lot of bad moments from Olivier. But last night was a good moment. And so gotta give credit where it's due. Olivier, fantastic on the night. He would be right on the verge for me, making one of my 3 stars on the night. Just misses out, but there were so many good performances, and it's really, really hard when the team plays as good as they did against Nashville to pick out the 3 best players on the night, and Olivier would just miss out. You know, one other player who I thought was fantastic, and they came off the bench, didn't play a ton, played 15 minutes last night, Jesus Bueno. He had 3 shots in 15 minutes. He had 1 chance created where it was a pass to Sam Adeniran, and Sam puts it over the bar, and we'll get to Sam's performance here in a bit. But Jesus Bueno was good coming off the bench. Offensively, he looked like he wanted a goal, and he had a lot of opportunities. And defensively, didn't have much to do. Had 1 interception, 3 ball recoveries. But in 15 minutes played, yeah, that was a good appearance off the bench from Jesus Bueno. And hopefully he'll continue to get opportunities like he did last year in Leagues Cup, and show why he was one of the best Union players in that competition. And he showed in that competition why he was getting called up with the Venezuelan national team. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make his debut because of injuries and whatnot. But I hope that he's given more opportunities like he was last season in Leagues Cup. Yes, he's still dealing with an ankle injury that he suffered against Chicago, but to his credit, he's fighting. He's pushing through the pain and gave the Union really, really, really good minutes last night off the bench. Like I said, Sam Adeniran came off the bench for his Union debut and had two chances. The one that I was just talking about that Jesus Bueno passed, and then he had one from Olivier Mbaizo, and it was an easy save for Joe Willis. But he did a good job, a good job in his 30 minutes with his press. I thought that was fantastic, especially when you read former manager Bradley Cornell's complaints about him, saying, yeah, his work rate's not great. He gets sent away to go train on his own. He goes and gets benched and misses 2 games. But yeah, last night you don't see any of that. He's working hard for the team in 30 minutes. And Jim Curtin said after the game, we're not going to focus on those misses because those misses, you'd rather have them turn into goals in games that are 1-by-1 goal. And so, yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's no big deal that he missed those chances because the Union were already up by three goals. But it is nice to see him get himself in positions to get those shots off. And yeah, I mean, he's only been here for a couple days. So the longer he's in practice, the more and more he knows his teammates. Of course, the chemistry is only going to get better, but I thought it was a solid debut for him. And I'm sure he's another player that's going to benefit if the Union go on a long run in Leagues Cup. He'll definitely be a player that's given opportunities. Again, I said it last episode, he's only here for the rest of the season and then his contract's up. So yeah, don't think the Union aren't going to play him. They're definitely going to play him. They're going to find moments. They're going to find opponents to start him in, give him more minutes than what he played last night, even though 30 minutes is a lot of time to play. So I thought it was a solid debut overall by Sam Adeniran, and Union did a good job just finding a moment to get him into the game. 2 other points I want to bring up before we move on to 3 stars and Blunder of the week. We're at 33 minutes. Let's see if we can keep it below. Andre Blake. And Jim Curtin said it after the game. I had a chance to talk with Philadelphia Union goalkeeping coach Phil Whedon, friend of the pod, multiple time appearances on here. And Jim Curtin said it, that, the saves Andre had in the game, they get forgotten because the Union win by 3 goals, don't allow any goals. Phil Whedon said the same thing. It's like, these are huge saves. These are saves if he doesn't make, the momentum in the game gets changed. And so this is what Jim Curtin had to say on Andre Blake's performance, how it's going to get overlooked. Hopefully it doesn't, but at the end of the day, it definitely is.
I don't want to oversimplify it, but guys, it's great goalkeeping. That's what we've had, and that's part of our foundation. And people say, "Well, it's all Andre," or he's our player. It's the same thing if you say, "Well, the Lakers wouldn't have been good without LeBron back in or Cleveland wouldn't have been good without LeBron, or Miami wouldn't have been good without LeBron." He's our player, and he plays in the goal, which again I've said it now 7 weeks in a row. Doesn't get enough credit that the field players get, and I think you saw tonight. Again, everyone will go home and we'll all remember 3 incredible goals from Danny. Good job by the team to defend and fight and get a big win here. But no one realized the difference. If that ball goes in and it's 2-1 with 7 minutes left still, you can start to have that thing creep back in again where you deal with nerves and panic. But because he makes a save, we go right down and score. These are the little moments I talk about a lot. And it's as simple as having your best players on the field and have them be your best players. So right up the middle, Danny, excellent. Jose, excellent. Andre, excellent. Those guys haven't been here for a good chunk of our year. I'm not making an excuse, but that's the reality. And you guys see what we are when we're clicking and we're confident. And I would just say no one wants to play us in the playoffs if we get in. That's a fact because we're a good team that's won a lot of games together.
So Jim brought up 2 points that I want to talk about. He talked about Jose Martinez, Daniel Gazdag, and Andre Blake. We'll talk about that point here in a second because I did have that in my notes talking about the spine of the team. And I talked about this last night on AAT Sports as well. But that save in the 50th minute by Andre Blake off of the Hani Mukhtar header, Nashville, they had a corner kick. The ball gets cleared away by Damian Lowe. It's not the most convincing of clearances. Hani keeps the play alive. And then the ball eventually gets past to Schaffelberg, crosses it to Hani, and it's a fantastic save by Andre Blake. Blake saves it in the middle of the field, in the middle of the penalty box. And that's really one that Nashville should have been putting in the back of the net. I mean, 5 minutes at the start of the second half, if Nashville put that in, it's 2-1, and now all the momentum shifts. And like Jim said, that, oh crap, here we go again, feeling in the stomach starts to come back out. And it's like, great. We gave up a goal at the start of the second half against New England. To the Union's credit, they went right back down and scored a goal to go up by 3 goals again. But it's a huge moment in this game, a huge game-saving moment by Andre Blake. And then you look towards the end of the game in the 85th minute where Hani Mukhtar plays a ball into Theo Bunbury, and it's a huge save there by Andre Blake. It's great combination play inside the 18-yard box, and Andre Blake had no reason at all to save that. But he shows time and time again why he's the best goalkeeper in MLS, why he should seriously be considered in MVP talks. And goalkeepers, I know, will never, ever win that award. But Andre Blake is that good. And we saw it last night. 2 huge moments that, again, are going to be overlooked because Daniel Gazdag scored a hat trick. But those are game-changing plays. Like, if those balls go in the back of the net for Nashville, momentum changes. Because that save in the 85th minute, 4 minutes later, the Union go and get the 3rd goal with Daniel Gazdag. And so what happens if it's 2-1 in that moment with 5+ minutes to be played? Nashville's going to continue to push numbers forward. And, well, we saw what happened against Inter Miami when they were down 10 men. The Union didn't want to lose that game. They push up, and they get hit on the counterattack. Who's to say something like that doesn't happen again? You don't know. Maybe it does. But it's 2 huge moments in this game. Andre Blake also went down in the first half in this game, and Jim said afterwards that Andre's okay, said that there's a little bit of pain in his knee, but he doesn't think that it's anything too serious. So the Union have 7 days off until the next day. So he'll rest and recover before Leagues Cup starts back up. But yeah, I mean, a fantastic performance by Andre Blake. And time and time again, he shows why. He shows why he's meant the way he's meant to this club. He shows what good goalkeeping will do for you. And the Union, they've missed Andre Blake this season. And going back to that other point that Jim brought up, saying that, yeah, look at Daniel Gazdag, Andre Blake, Jose Martinez. Our success starts with them. And what do all of those guys have in common? It's the spine of the team. I've said it before on this podcast. I've said it to friends. I brought it up last night to Jose. I asked him, and I'll ask you guys too. If you guys were the coach of a team, you were starting a team from fresh, what 2 positions would you buy first? What 2 positions would you make sure that you have your best players in? For me, it's goalkeeping, and it's a number 6. Jose said last night a number 10, which is fine. I respect that too. I mean, having a good playmaker that can create, that can score goals, that goes a long way for your team. You've got to have a great goalkeeper, and it's no shots fired at Andrew Rick or Oliver Zemla, but they're not Andre Blake. And I think that's clear as day for everybody who's watched the last 2 games that Andre continues to do Andre things. I think that's the best way to put it. You start with the spot, your goalkeeping, your center backs, your defensive midfielder, your attacking mid. Then you buy everybody else. You build your team with whoever else you can get. But if you can get the spine of your team locked in, you're going to be successful. And I don't know if you guys realize this or not. It's only been 3 full games that we've seen Daniel, Andre, and Jose all playing. They played 6 total. You got to look at the Minnesota game where Andre Blake left in the 75th minute because of concussion. Atlanta, Blake left in the 45th minute because of a groin injury. Then the Seattle game, it got rained out after Blake started that game, played 6 minutes, and then the game resumed, but Andre Blake was hurt at the time, so Oliver Zemla came in. So that game, again, 6 minutes, didn't really play much. And then you look at RSL, Blake and Gazdag and Martinez played fully in that. The Union lost. New England, the last game, and Nashville, those three guys played together and the Union won. So only 3 full games that they played together. It's not been often they've been on the field together. And those are 3 huge players to miss. 3 huge players to the success of this team. And again, I know what I'm saying on this show is also what I said at times on Jose's show, but I'll go ahead and repeat myself in case you guys didn't watch the live show, because you guys should definitely be watching them. That performance by Jose Martinez against New England, against Nashville, those are the type of performances why he's been considered the best number 6 the last couple years in MLS. He's been fantastic. And so you get those guys healthy, you get them to play consistently, you're going to have success. It's a simple formula. It's not that hard. But let's go ahead and talk about 3 stars on the night, starting with number 3, Leon Flach, 1 assist, 4 out of 5 tackles won, 3 ball recoveries, 5 out of 7 ground duels won. And Leon's such a curious case because he's a player that has his contract running out at the end of the season. He could, in this moment, talk to clubs if he wanted to and leave for a free in the wintertime. I don't think Leon's a player the Union can afford to lose on a free. I think Leon's too valuable for this team to lose. And I'm talking about selling or losing on a free. The Union cannot afford to lose Leon Flach because he shows you what he does defensively. He has a motor that runs for days. He's going to work his butt off for you. But like I said a little bit ago, his game offensively is starting to take off. He's creating chances. He's getting higher up the field. He's not playing as many backwards and sideways passes as he once was. And I'm not saying that Leon Flach's going to be as good as Jack McGlynn is offensively. But if he can improve his offensive game more, yeah, there's going to be teams interested in Leon Flach. And maybe there are already teams talking to Leon, and maybe Leon is in communications with other teams. And this is the last we see of Leon. Who knows? Haven't got a chance to ask Leon that question yet. I know Jose is dying to ask him, what's the contract negotiations looking like between your agent and the Union? Is this a place you still want to be? Haven't had a chance to ask Leon that yet, but I don't think Leon's a player the Union can afford to lose. He still means a lot to this team. Defensively, nobody works as hard as he does in that midfield. Dude never gets tired. And it's so crazy when you look at him coming back against DC United. Is that when he made his season debut from the pectoral injury? I can't remember. It's been a while. But it looked like he hadn't missed a beat at all once he made his debut in 2024. And so Leon, again, fantastic on the night. Star number 2, Andre Blake. We just spent quite some time talking about him. He had 3 saves. Great performance by Andre, and Andre Blake's going to continue to do Andre Blake things. And then number 1, Daniel Gazdag. 3 goals, 1 chance created, 9 touches inside the 18-yard box. That is where Daniel's at his best, playing as a second striker, finding that space inside the 18-yard box. He did exactly that on 2 out of the 3 goals on the night. That is when Daniel Gazdag is most dangerous in that part of the field. Had 2 out of 2 tackles won, 5 ball recoveries. So those are my 3 stars. But again, so many players played well for the Union on the night. Olivier Mbaizo, again, got to give him a shout out. I would probably put him at 3B, definitely 4. Fantastic performance from Olivier. But let's go ahead and talk about Blunder of the Week quickly. And so I got to give a shout out to Aaron. Aaron brought this to my attention over the weekend, which I thought I saw this, but I wasn't too sure. And so he sent me a screenshot of when Quinn Sullivan scored the goal against New England, Apple decided, hey, look, this is Kevin Sullivan's goal. And so they credited Kevin Sullivan with the goal. It's terrible from Apple. Like, Kevin wasn't even on the field yet. And you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait to mention Kevin somewhere on the screen. And so they put Kevin's name for the goal scorer. But also, I mentioned in the last episode, when they missed Jacob Glesnes' goal.
Yeah, not good.
No, not good at all. Terrible. I mean, there's been so many times this season, so many fans have talked about their team's action being missed on the field because Apple's too busy showing the same replay for 10 times in a row. And as much as I think the Apple picture quality is an upgrade over what we were getting with ESPN Plus, there's still a lot of fails and misses with Apple. Still not the biggest fan that they got rid of local broadcast, but I'm happy people like Dave Leno, teams that were using radio broadcasters and home commentators, I'm happy the radio broadcasters still get an opportunity to call games, that they still have a job, that you're able to link the home team's radio feed with the Apple feed. It's a great feature. But the failed promises of saying, well, when the team's on the road, you can also link their feed. Where's that? That's still not been here yet. Some of the commentators aren't the greatest on Apple TV. Some commentators don't really know what they're talking about because they're not around these teams like the home guys were day in, day out, week in, week out. And that's no fault of their own, but this is what Apple opted with when it national broadcasters. And the fact of the matter is, there's some that are extremely good and there's some that are extremely bad. And thank God that, if you're not a Philadelphia Union fan, if you're a team of another team, hopefully your team does have radio broadcasters and they are able to link that home feed to the Apple feed, and you guys can enjoy the people that know the club more than some of these MLS national broadcasters. But yeah, not a good showing for MLS, for Apple to miss the Jacob Glesnes goal, to credit Kevin Sullivan for the goal when it was Quinn Sullivan's. Not good at all. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow at Free Kick Pod. Wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod. And make sure you guys check out the Substack, thefreekick.substack.com, for my articles, the podcast, for the goals breakdown video. Have all that stuff in one place for you guys if you guys don't want to search on Apple, on Spotify to listen to the podcast. If you guys don't want to watch the goals breakdown video on YouTube, well, all that stuff's on Substack as well. Which, by the way, I'll end on this. I was thinking this when I was recording the podcast. And as much as it sucks not doing midweek episodes for you guys, bringing on commentators, like, I do genuinely miss talking to those people, giving you guys updates on how other teams are playing. You guys technically get that with the match previews that I wrote up. And so a little plug again for Substack. If you guys want more information for what's happened during that week leading up to the game, you guys can find that information in my match previews. But for you guys just always checking out my content, for people coming up to me, meeting me at the games for the first time, introducing themselves, I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. So with that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.